Let me tell you a story about how I purchased Ableton Move. So when it was just announced and released on the internet, a lot of videos on YouTube started appearing with reviews and people's opinion about it. And I was binge watching all of the Ableton Move videos. Especially I was wondering if it would fit my workflow, because I primarily work in boom bap hip hop style. My horoscope sign is Libra, so before making some important decision, for example whether to buy or not to buy a new device, I weigh all the pros and cons. But then finally I saw that Ableton Move appeared in our local shop, and I jumped into the car and started driving. It took me quite long, about 40-45 minutes, because of the traffic jam and so on and so forth. And while I was driving, I was watching YouTube videos about Ableton Move. But believe it or not, when I arrived at the shop, I made a U-turn and drove back home. Why? Because Ableton Move irritated me a lot when I was watching those reviews. In some of them, people were talking about crazy limitations, and I saw and I thought like it wouldn't fit my sampling workflow. Too many limitations. So I was like, screw that, I'm driving home. Oh, the review of Ableton Move? Here that is. So what exactly changed my mind and what I like about Ableton Move now? Let me tell you. Wow, it looks fantastic. The build quality is perfect. It's quite hefty, not cheap definitely. There is some weight to it. There are two loudspeakers right here and they are quite alright. Let me play you. I'd like to address one fact that still irritates me a lot when I watch YouTube videos about Ableton Move. The limitation of only 4 tracks. I don't care. 4 is the perfect number for me. I don't work in trance, techno, house styles of music. I work primarily in hip-hop, and for hip-hop, you know that, guys. 4 is the golden number. Of course you can have more than 4, but 4 is just enough for the creative ideas. Mind the fact that each of the track can be a drum rack, so each of the track can give you 16, so to say, tracks within one track. Okay, so let's dive deep. Let me show you how to make a classic sampled hip-hop beat on this device, and in my opinion Ableton Move wasn't designed to be a sampler in the first place, more of a groovebox workflow and then a sampler. When you just take it out from the box, you go to Shift and Settings, you can check your battery status, connect to Wi-Fi, this is very important, and you can check for updates. I really hope that in the nearest updates Move will receive some very necessary functions that are missing right now, but we'll talk about it later. Then you press Shift and choose this Start a New Project. Everything's like in Ableton. The first 4 projects are from the factory, so you can listen to them if you want. And just any project that you have, you can click on it and preview. Move is a very great device for sketches and inspiring ideas, so once you press the empty project, you go to the empty project and you are greeted with already 4 randomly loaded presets. The first track is always the drums. And here is a very cool feature which is called Capture, which captures your notes that you played without actually pressing the record button. Not a new feature, because on Push 3 I have the same button and on many samplers we have something similar, but here in Ableton Move I see that they market it as a very cool feature for this sketch device. Later on you can go to Shift and this menu where you can set the quantization level and the grid, and then if you are not satisfied with how you played, you can press Shift and Quantize. Second track is always bass. I don't like this preset, but I can change it easily right here. Don't like it either. A lot of bass sounds that I'll never use. Like this, not for hip-hop definitely. Alright, third and fourth track are usually some melodic synthesizers. Oh, I like this flute, but this is a sampler. I can see it by this icon. This means it's a sampler. And this is very good because you can get inspired very easily. Yeah, like this. But I guess you already know it by now, so let me actually go back to this menu and I will delete what I just created, and now we'll start making a real classic boom bap hip hop beat. The first track is going to be the drum break, and I'm going to sample one of the drum breaks from my sample pack that I created. By the time you watch this video, I think you can already get this sample pack, and the link is somewhere in the description below the video. So this is the usual Ableton's drum rack, but for my project I need to empty it out. So I go to the first one, exit presets, templates. You go to drum kit, which is the typical Ableton Live drum rack, and empty. And this is in polyphony mode because we have the choke kit, and this will be used for melodic samples. For now, because I want to play my drum break in polyphony mode, I will press drum kit. And as you can hear, I mean, you can't hear because it's empty. To load this sample on this pad, I press, for example, pad number 1, go here. Again, I go to user samples, my sample pack, and in order to hear, to preview the sounds, you press the pad. Okay, let's go with this one. Right now my goal will be to choose the kick, the snare, the hat, some sub kick, and probably open hi-hat. And the purpose of this video is actually to show you how Ableton Move works as a sampler compared to SP404 or Ableton Push 3 or even MPC. Most probably you wonder. And you will notice that some of the features leave much to be desired. Let me show you. So my first aim is to find the kick. In order to find the start of the sample, I need to use the second knob, which is already not convenient. Why is that so? Because of course I can use it like this and even preview. I can look here. However, if I need to fine-tune, and I always need to fine-tune it because this is very, drastic changes. Very drastic changes. I press Shift, and for that reason I need to use hands like this. Shift. I need to go somewhere because I don't want to use the first kick. Okay, this should be a snare. And hold is actually the way how you end the sample, end the chop. And I feel like I'm cracking a bank safe because I don't see the visual representation of the end of the sample. Okay, now I'm satisfied with the snare. However, on the SP404, and I'm keep comparing this to SP404 because they are almost in the same price range of $450–500. And on SP404, you can actually see the start point, the end point, and everything in between. Right here, you can't. And now I'm going to copy snare to the next pad. By the way, let me switch on full velocity. And here I'm going to choose kick. Again, Shift and fine-tuning. And you see how I do this, because if I do it like this, I absolutely cover the screen. You don't see anything as well as I don't see anything. So in order to see something here, I need to do it like this. Moreover, in order to preview the samples, I need to press it with something like that, fine-tune it and then preview, or do it like this, which is also not convenient. It's counterintuitive. So as I say, some people who developed Ableton Move, they were not making it as a sampler in the first place. It was more of a groove box for techno, ambient, house. In those genres, you don't really need to fine-tune the beginning of the sample for a very long time, for beginning of each chop. And this is like a next negative point. You can't auto-chop or you can't manually chop the sample because there is no simpler, Ableton simpler inside this device. And I really doubt that it will ever appear as a new module with a new update. For example, on Push 3, I can load a simpler and actually chop the sample. It can be a drum sample, it can be a melodic sample, but here it's just through copying. Okay, like challenge accepted, but this thing is not very convenient. So let's continue. I think we have like a hat and a sub kick and a kick. Okay, let's leave it as a kick and copy to here and use the ghost kick. But I need to use hold. Like I'm cracking the safe, I tell you. I will copy this to this pad and find the hat. You see how I'm doing it? It's like counterintuitive. It's not convenient at all. I will copy this to this pad and find an open hat. And I think I will just break this knob because this is not meant to be used like this for your samples. I mean, of course, if you write some ambient, you need to just maybe once or twice in your project adjust the start of your kick or snare. That's it. Job's done. Not in hip-hop, not in sampled hip-hop. You know, I'm already tired doing it like this. Yes, here I can see by the waveform that this is an open. And here is another drawback, the real important feature that is missing, the absence of choke group within one drum rack. You know how it usually works, the open hat should be closed by the closed hi-hat. Well, here I can't do so, because before I chose the preset where the drum rack is in polyphony, so I can play the notes. Or I have a second preset for drum rack, which is all choked, all 16 pads are choked. That way I wouldn't be able to play the sample simultaneously. Just please, in the new update, give us the new choke group, at least one choke group for one track. In SP404, there are a lot of choke groups, and this is a very basic, fundamental feature of any sampler. Moreover, another drawback, this second section of pads, which I can deselect. Right now, it's not available for anything. For example, this hat, I can only use it for 16 pitch changes. I can't use it for velocity, which could be very important, for example, as you play your hi-hats loud and quiet, but here it only says 16 pitches. I really hope that in the new update you could be able to switch between like a lot of pages, 16 pitch, 16 velocity, maybe 16 filter. At least 16 velocity would be already great. Biggest drawback in the sampling workflow is that I'm not actually able to use these 16 pads for sampling. So I am only limited to one bank, so to say. For example, if I have a usual sample, I wouldn't say a longer sample because we sample like 3-minute songs and so on and so forth. But even if it's a sample from Splice or this drum break, I want to have more than 16 chops. And I already have these pads, so it's such a waste of fantastic pads. For example, on my Push 3, I have 64 pads and I can go like chop 16, then go to 17, 18. It's very helpful. And here I already have the pads available. Why can't I use them for other chops, other slices? This is so ridiculous. But okay, let's stay limited to 16 slices only. And for the second track, let's select the drum rack again, because we need to use a melodic sample. We go back to our templates, and here it should be choke kit, because all the melodic samples, all the melodic chops should mute each other. Right now it's empty. I go to pad sample. Again, I go to user samples. And in order to preview melodic samples, I need to press some pad. And let's load it. Again, let me just demonstrate you how you would work with melodic samples on Ableton Move. The sample plays for too long, so I need to adjust the hold and the pitch, for example, -1. And I'm not really worried about the ending of each sample, because the new sample will cut the previous sample, because this is just a melody. But anyway, I would like to have some visual representation. For example, instead of hold, just give us the end marker. This is the start, and probably make this the end. Let me fine-tune it as well. When I'm satisfied with it, I copy it to the second. And why I'm copying it? Because again, there is no ability to chop this sample, neither manually nor automatically. It's not really good. So I copy and find the start of the second slice, which again is not very convenient. I do this like with drum samples. I copy second to third and find the beginning of the third. I guess by the end of some tutorials I will just break this second encoder already. I copy third to fourth. It takes so much time, so much effort. Okay, and next thing that you do is you copy it to other 16 pads and you should be satisfied with it. Again, another very big drawback is that you can't change some parameters to all of these 16 pads. For example, you want to change the pitch, let's say to +2, and you can't change it automatically to all your track. Guess what? You can change the volume. For example, if you press the pad and change the volume, it becomes quieter, louder, and so on and so forth. And I guess it would be nice to be able to hold, for example, track. And by the way, yes, you can hold the track and change the volume of the track, so it's doable. Please give us in the new update the ability to press the track and change the pitch. For example, if I lower it to -6, it only changed this. Not second, not all other samples. This is again so ridiculous, so please make something, at least like pressing here and changing the pitch of the entire bank, of the entire track. Or for example, you press this and change, for example, what? Attack, 11.3. But it didn't change for this pad. So these parameters, please automate them simply by holding this track button. I think it's doable because you can do this with the volume of the track, so please. Ableton Move has built-in effects, for example, compressor, reverb, and all the usual effects available. So for example, for each track, there is one send and one real effect. What I mean by this? Send can be used as a regular send, for example, for delay, for reverb, and so on and so forth. However, if you send some parameters parameter 100% to the send, it will be as a usual effect. And for this kick, I used the EQ to 100%, and I just rolled off some mid frequencies and high frequencies. While on the whole track, if you go next, I use dynamics. Let me play you how it sounds without the compression. So much better. Of course, you can adjust some parameters, for example, low gain, mid gain, high gain, then high pass filter, release, threshold, output gain. For some reason, I don't see the attack parameter, but okay. Let's record the melodic sample. Yes, and quantize. Alright, so for this melodic sample, did I use the reverb? No, I didn't, but did I use, yeah, dynamics as well. So some compression is happening to the sample as well, and I really cut the low frequencies out because I want to use my own bass later, so without it, it would sound with the bass. There is some bass in the background, but I completely cut it out. And I can record some development of the melody, so I go into the clip section. For example, I can copy my drums to here, but actually they are the same. And I can go to empty clip and record the ending of this pattern. This is it. So I'm playing like this. And eventually when it comes to the end of the sequence, I can go to here. Typical Ableton. Right now I prepare. And then I go back. I'm ready playing. Excuse me. Let's record the bass, and for the bass I chose the built-in synthesizer, some simple preset, Jupo bass, Juno I guess. Very simple bass, nothing difficult. And for recording bass, I will actually use the MIDI keyboard. You can attach the external MIDI keyboard by this USB-A, and yes, it's already attached. Alright, let's record that. And bass for this section, I think it will be the same, but anyway. So I can play the full track, so to say, like this. There is no solo button, unfortunately. Something like this. Already some songs started appearing. And then let's go to track 4 and we'll go to this section. Let's record some ending. I like this. I really like this. So the biggest drawbacks for me are these. We don't have the choke group within one drum rack in polyphony. That's bad. Second is we can't adjust parameters to all of the pads in our drum rack. Third is actually this workflow of adjusting the beginning of the sample and ending of the sample. Ending is alright, like I can accept this challenge by blindly finding this spot like I'm cracking the safe. But actually this workflow of, turning this pad and doing it with my hand like this is really inconvenient. And there is one more thing, there is this microphone that we should test. So here is the cat that I recorded. I don't know, maybe I can use it in my project, for example. Or some effect like stretch. I don't know, but I have something more interesting. Ta-da! That will be our shaker. What is this? You guys in America and Europe don't know. This is buckwheat, a really healthy thing to eat. Let's record this to this pad, and how it works, you basically press record, and when I press the pad, it starts recording. So let me prepare. Record. Again, it's too long, so I need to adjust my hold, and let's adjust the start of the sample. Hold is too short. I really don't like this workflow of adjusting the beginning of the sample. No, this takes too much time. Let me adjust the volume real quick so that I can see it better. I think I can use this take. Change the attack. This microphone sound is not very clean, of course. I can hear a lot of noise happening. Of course, if I would use like my microphone, it would sound so much better. But guess what? There is another 3.5mm for audio input, so you can sample your iPhone, you can sample vinyl records, or you can plug in your microphone through the sound card, through the sound interface, and sample through your microphone. Let's move the beginning a little and see how it fits into our project, or maybe not. Okay, maybe this was just an experiment. So if I come to the conclusion, I should say that this is a very great device because this is really portable. This is like alternative to MPC Live 2. It has battery, it has loudspeakers. Although loudspeakers, I would say it has quiet speakers because on MPC Live 2, it's real soundbar loudspeakers here. But okay, anyway, you can hear something. For example, let me just demonstrate you this project, how it sounds. I think it's quite decent. Give us choke groups, give us ability to adjust the parameters to whole bank, give us some alternative to adjusting the beginning and the end of the sample. And I think it would be a really great device, alternative to SP404 definitely. Especially taking into account that there is the possibility of loading 4 synthesizers, and it's not a joke, it's not samples. Or let's say 3 synthesizers, because you obviously need drums, and 3 synthesizers easily. Like it can be a drift, it can be a wavetable, it can be drift again, for example. And before we leave, I'll show you how to use the arpeggiator. I have this sound of bass or theremin. Let's use this. You go to repeat, but if it's the case with hi-hat, it will do the rolls. In case of melodic samples, it will be an arpeggiator. Here you press repeat, style repeat or arpeggiator, and you can see up, down or random. So, is Ableton Move worth its price? Because I know on the internet they say it's $450, but I bought it for $550. You know that happens when you live outside the US. And by the time it goes through all of the customs, taxes and so on and so forth, it ends up being $550. It usually happens like this. How do you like this device? Let me know in the comments.